Hello, everybody. Happy February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day for those of you celebrating. For those of you not celebrating, like me, also happy Valentine's Day. But what does Valentine's Day mean to you? Well, it means something different to everybody. But what it should mean is that it should mean a point of self reflection because Valentine's Day comes from not from anything special, really. It comes from this pagan holiday or this pagan day where you had this. It's a fertility celebration for males. Yes, it's a fertility celebration for males. So, for all you feminists out there, just pay attention to this because this Valentine's Day, you should actually protest against it because it is. I'll tell you the story. So, it's interesting. It was a celebration of fertility for males. And so, what used to happen, and it was called Lupercalia. That was the name of the day. It's called Lupercalia, and that's what they used to celebrate. And so the males, what they used to do, they used to strip naked and they used to dance around. No, I'm joking. They used to strip naked and then they used to slaughter or sacrifice, i.e., slaughter a dog and a goat. Okay, so for all you animal lovers and all you feminists out there, understand that Valentine's Day does not really represent what you want it to represent. Now you can come at me and say, well, you know what? Valentine's Day has changed. It's changed. It doesn't mean it doesn't represent that. Well, it's based on that. That's the whole point of it. I mean, the reason that was the celebration. And then it was changed because there's a story that came out and said that there's this guy named Valentine and he was in jail and then he took care of the jail guard's daughter and then he wrote her a letter on his day of execution, I believe, and in it he signed "Your Valentine." And then somehow the word spread that this was an act of love, and so then people started exchanging things, I guess. So anyway, so the whole point here is that Valentine's Day isn't for everybody. So pick your poison. And you should really, really scrutinize why you're doing certain things. And that's why I say that Valentine's Day is actually a day for you to reflect, not a day for you to celebrate something that really has no real significance to that day. And I maintain that. But it's really up to you. You can spend, hundreds of dollars on celebrating Valentine's Day. And as a matter of fact, it's one of those days of the year that people celebrate that there's a huge commercial thing attached to it. So, I mean, it does raise the question. If there is a lot of meaning to it, why is it attached to so much money? There are in the US alone, people are spending $28.5 billion just today, one day, $28.5 billion. If you wait for tomorrow, everything is going to be half price. So, I mean, the smart way to actually celebrate it would be to wait for tomorrow and celebrate the smart Valentine's Day. That's the anti-materialistic, anti-capitalism type of Valentine's Day. That is how you show love, right? You're like, honey, I love you so much that I don't want to participate in this capitalistic society, and I don't want to encourage materialism, but I favor you, and so you write a love note, right? You just pass the love note, and then you wait till the next day where you can get flowers instead of buying them for $65. You pay $30, get the same bouquet, probably even bigger. Everyone's happy. So that is the whole point of Valentine's Day. Now, how can you do a self-reflection for Valentine's Day? I have something really cool for you. So this is called 100 questions. And what you do with this 100 questions is that you would pick and you would go and isolate yourself for 45 to 60 minutes away from any electronics. Do you see the trend from how my previous podcasts were? And I said, always isolate yourself, turn off all electronics, all TV, all phones, everything related to electronics, shut it off, turn off the Wi-Fi, and just isolate yourself for 45 to 60 minutes, grab a pen. Yes, there is such thing called a pen and paper, and then start writing. Write down 100 questions, any questions that pops to your mind, but questions, not statements. Write down questions. And if you're like me, you're going to find that the first dozen or so questions come really easily to you. But then as you start to think about it, then you're going to notice there's going to be some kind of rhythm, but still write and just keep asking questions. So obviously it's going to come off, it's going to start off with something like why and how and what. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of thing. At the end of the 100 questions, okay, this is a 3-part series. At the end of the 100 questions, part 2 is for you to look at those 100 questions and then to pick the top 10 that jump at you, because you're going to read it and you're going to see there's going to be some themes that really jump out at you. Okay, there's going to be some repeating themes. So then pick the top 10 that you believe represents this list. Okay, or the top 10 that mean the most to you out of all of those questions, 100 questions. The part 3 is then for you to organize these 10 things, organize them in sequence, in order of importance, from the most powerful to the least. And then part 4, I know I said 3 parts. I lied. It's 4 parts. Part 4 is for you then to answer those questions yourself, to find the answers to those questions. If you do this, and you do this, even if you do this weekly or if you do this monthly, on a self-reflection day, such as Valentine's Day, then obviously a lot of these questions are going to be resolved because you're finding answers to them. So take that as a way for you to do an insane amount of self-reflection, like an intense self-reflection, intense cleansing of the self. The other way to do it is to do the 10 goals exercise, which is, because you have 10 months left of the year, what you want to do is you want to write down on a sheet of paper. This is the second exercise, by the way. This has nothing to do with the 100 questions. What you want to do is you want to take on a sheet of paper, again, away from all electronics, away from all Wi-Fi, turn off your cell phone, turn off everything, and then write down the 10 goals that you want to achieve by the end of this year. And you write it in the present tense. Write it in the tense that you've actually achieved it. I am driving such and such car. I am making such and such money. I weigh this much. I live whatever it is, write it in the present tense. 10 of them. And then look at them and then see which one jumps out at, just one. Which one jumps out at you that you'd want to complete, or that you would wish that you could have in 24 hours. So out of those 10, which one would you rather have in 24 hours? Now take that one and then transfer it to a new sheet of paper and then come up with a task list to complete that goal. Okay, so you have a goal now because the deadline is in 10 months, right? Before the end of 2025. Again, we're still obsessed with 2024. Don't let it go. Okay, for those 9% of people that are obsessed with accomplishing the goals because you know that you will, what you want to do is you want to come up with a task list of everything that you need to do in order for you to achieve that goal. Step 2 is you want to make that into a checklist. And step 3, you want to do something of that checklist every single day. There you have it. That's the 10 exercise goal. And lastly, with regards to self-reflection, I encourage you to stay in beta mode. Now, in a permanent beta mode. Now, the reason why I say beta mode, the techies, they use the term beta to signify that there's something still missing, or some bugs that still need to be fixed. When a software or hardware is released, they release it in beta mode. I'm sure you've heard beta mode. And the reason why they release it in beta mode is because there's a lot of things that still are buggy. There's still things that need to be addressed. Now, when Google first launched Gmail in 2004, they kept it in beta mode for up until 2009. So they kept it in beta mode for 5 years. 5 years, they were testing it, fixing the bugs, making sure things are working properly. Beta mode for 5 years. Amazon, until this day, every single year, Jeff Bezos writes an annual letter to the shareholders, and he writes it as it's still day one in Amazon. Because what he's doing is he's creating a sense of urgency and basically telling the shareholders that there's no such thing as we're finished, because there's always things to improve. So you yourself should adopt that methodology and should permanently stay in a beta mode, because there's always something to fix. There's no such thing as when I reach this level, when I get to this weight, when I start lifting this much, when I start making this, there's always something that you can do better. And so you should always be thinking in terms of being in beta mode. There is this concept, a really cool concept, and I believe it's actually by Angela Duckworth. And she came up with this concept, and she invented the concept of, or she wrote the book called Grit, right? On basically how to become a persevering and persisting individual to attain success. It's a really, really cool book, very thick. Recommend you read it. Very good read. So she came up with an equation, and this equation is, there are two parts to the equation, which stresses the effort level. This effort level is stressed in the sense that when you have talent, and every single one of us has talent. A lot of us have different types of talents depending on what activities we're talking about. But irrespective of the talent times effort equals skill. So that's the formula number one. Talent times effort equals skill. Skill times effort. So remember, effort now is twice. Skill times effort equals achievement. So what is the equation to achievement? Well, it is this. Whatever genetics that you have is the quote unquote talent. You put effort into that and you develop a skill. The more effort you put into it, the better the skill. Now, if you are putting now more effort into that skill to develop that skill even more, then you get to the achievement. And so it is said that effort actually counts twice in this equation of achievement. So when you are thinking to yourself, when you're sitting to yourself and you're thinking, you've got your hand on your chin, you're feeling sorry for yourself, and you're like, I can't do this. This is not for me. I'm just not good enough. I wasn't born to. All this self-defeating talk, you have to understand that makes no sense. Because if you put in the effort and you put in a lot of effort counts twice. So it's almost a guarantee that if you put in a lot of effort, a ton of effort, you will achieve. You will become one of the greats. But the thing is that you require grit, meaning that no matter how many times you fall, you have to get right back up and you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying. So you need passion. You need perseverance. You need persistence in order for you to actually get the fruits of your labor and to see the fruits of your labor. And lastly, I want to end with this basically this story, okay, or this experiment that was conducted on children with regards to effort. So what they did is that they took a group of children, and this group of children got split into two groups. In one group, they both gave them tests. In one group, after they finished the test, they praised them with being smart. The other group, they praised them with having strong effort or a lot of effort. You did a great job because you put in a lot of effort. The other one is you are very smart. Then they took those two groups and then they gave them a different type of test, an impossible test, a very, very difficult test. Both same two groups, and none of them were able to solve the problems. And then they put them into another room where they gave them two easy level tests, the same level of easiness as the first set of tests that they gave them. Now, here's the interesting part. If you were to take a baseline of one, for instance, the group that were praised because they were smart, they did 25% worse than the baseline. Whereas the people that were praised because of their effort, they did 25% better than the baseline, meaning that the difference between the people that were praised because they're smart and the people that were praised because of their effort, the difference between them is almost double in terms of their capabilities of performing well on the test. They were given the exact same test. They were literally the exact same process. The only difference, they both got the first thing, they got an easy test, then they got an impossible test, and then they got an easy test. The exact same groups were not switched. The only variable was one was praised because they were smart, right? They were praised due to their intelligence, i.e. talent. The other were praised because of their effort. The ones that were praised because of their effort did almost twice as good as the ones that were praised because they were smart. Just think about that for a second. The same groups, the only difference is that one thought that they worked hard and the others thought that they were inherently smart. So next time that you think to yourself that you're not good enough or that you cannot achieve because you weren't born a certain way or you weren't in a certain condition or whatever it is, that whatever excuse you want to throw at yourself, always think that effort counts twice. Effort times talent equals skill, and skill times effort equals achievement. So put in the effort and you will get the achievement. Again, happy Valentine's Day for those that are celebrating. And for those that aren't, make sure you use this as a self-reflective moment. Use the 100-question method. Use the 10-goal method. And may you always be successful. And as always, stay well and keep smiling.